There are moments in life when we struggle to understand why certain people leave. We hold on to relationships, friendships, and connections because they feel familiar, because they've been a part of our journey for so long, and because we fear what life might look like without them. We convince ourselves that if we just try harder, if we just hold on a little longer, things will change. But what if God is the one removing them? What if He is closing a door that was never meant to stay open? God's plan for your life is greater than your attachments. He sees what you cannot see. He knows the conversations you didn't hear, the betrayals you didn't notice, and the intentions that were never pure. He sees the way certain people hold you back, drain your spirit, and prevent you from stepping into the fullness of what He has for you. And because He loves you, He will remove them even when it hurts, even when you don't understand, even when it feels unfair. Sometimes the very thing you are crying over is what God is using to elevate you. The person who walked away, the friend who betrayed you, the relationship that suddenly ended, it all has a purpose. You see, God is not just interested in your comfort, He is interested in your destiny. And sometimes that destiny requires separation. It requires letting go of people who were only meant to be in your life for a season. Think about Abraham. When God called him to step into His promise, He told him to leave everything behind, his home, his people, his familiar surroundings. Why? Because not everyone can go where God is taking you. There are people who were part of your past who cannot be part of your future. There are relationships that were meant to teach you something but were never meant to last forever. And if you keep holding on, you may be delaying the very thing God is trying to bring into your life. Letting go does not mean you don't care. It does not mean you are cold-hearted or ungrateful for what that person meant to you. It simply means that you trust God more than you trust your emotions. It means that you recognize when a door has been closed and you stop trying to force it back open. It means that you believe God's plan is bigger than your temporary pain. Think about it. If God removed someone from your life, what makes you think they were meant to stay? God does not make mistakes. He does not allow things to happen without a reason. He is too wise, too intentional, too perfect in His ways. If He removed them, it means they were not part of your next chapter. If He took them out of your life, it means they were a hindrance, not a help. And if you trust Him, you will stop chasing after what He has already released. You may not see it now, but one day you will look back and realize that the loss was actually a blessing. You will see that God was making room for something better. You will understand why He had to separate you from certain people, why certain relationships ended, why certain friendships faded. And when that moment comes, you will be grateful that He loved you enough to remove what was no longer serving you. So don't fight what God is doing. Don't hold on to what He is trying to take away. Don't resist the shift. If God is closing a door, trust that it's because He has something greater on the other side. Trust that His plan is greater than your attachments. Trust that He is making a way even when you don't understand, even when it hurts, even when you feel alone. One day you will see that what you thought was a loss was actually a setup for something greater. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people come for a season, to teach a lesson, to help you grow, or to play a specific role in your journey. But when their time is up, when their purpose in your life has been fulfilled, you have to let them go. Holding on to people who are meant to leave can block your blessings, delay your growth, and keep you in a place you've already outgrown. It may not make sense in the moment, but trust that when God removes someone, He is making room for something greater. It's natural to want to hold on to familiar connections. We become attached to people because of shared experiences, deep emotions, and the comfort they bring. But what happens when those connections start to drain you instead of uplift you? What happens when their presence in your life begins to cause more harm than good? God sees what you do not. He knows when someone's season in your life is over, and He will allow circumstances to shift in a way that forces you to let go. Sometimes you don't even realize how much someone is holding you back until they are gone. There are people who distract you from your purpose, people who take more than they give, people who were never truly for you but were only attached to what you could offer them. When God removes these people, it may feel painful at first, but it is always for your good. You may not understand why a friendship ended, why someone suddenly changed, or why you had to walk away from a relationship you thought would last forever. But God's wisdom surpasses your understanding. Think about how a tree grows. As it gets taller, certain branches become weak and need to be pruned. If the gardener leaves those branches, they can hinder the tree's ability to grow strong and bear fruit. In the same way, God removes certain people from your life so that you can continue to grow. Some people were only meant to be part of your story for a chapter, not the entire book. When you refuse to let go, you hold yourself back from the new things God wants to do in your life. And you may feel like you're losing something valuable, but God never takes away without giving back. He never removes without replacing. When one door closes, another opens. But you cannot walk into the next season of your life while still clinging to people from the past. You cannot receive new blessings while still holding on to what was never meant to stay. There is freedom in letting go. There is peace in accepting that not everyone is meant to be with you forever. Some people were assigned to help you for a specific time, and once their role is complete, they have to move on. It doesn't mean they were bad people. It doesn't mean the time spent with them was wasted. It simply means their season in your life has ended. You have to trust that if God allowed someone to leave, it was because their purpose in your life had been fulfilled. Stop trying to force relationships that have already expired. Stop chasing after people who were never meant to stay. Stop looking back when God is calling you forward. Letting go does not mean you don't care. It does not mean you forget the memories or dismiss the lessons. It simply means you trust God's plan more than your own emotions. It means you believe that whatever is ahead of you is greater than what you left behind. And when you choose to release what is no longer meant for you, you will step into the fullness of what God has prepared for your future. Separation is often a setup for something greater. When God removes someone from your life, it is not a punishment, it is preparation. It is a sign that He is shifting things, repositioning you, and making room for something new. But in the moment, it doesn't always feel like a blessing. It feels like loss. It feels like rejection. It feels like something precious is being taken away. And if you're not careful, you will let your emotions convince you that God has abandoned you, when in reality, He is setting you up for something beyond your imagination. When you lose someone, whether it's a friend, a relationship, or a connection you thought would last forever, the first instinct is often to question why. You may ask God, why did they leave? Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? But sometimes it's not about what you did wrong. It's about what God is making right. It's about how He is realigning your path. There are people who were attached to your past but cannot be part of your future. There are relationships that were tied to an old version of you, but now that God is calling you higher, they can no longer walk with you. Look back at your life. Think about the people who left. Think about the times you cried over someone who walked away. And now, look at where you are. Haven't you grown? Haven't you become wiser, stronger? Haven't you learned lessons that shaped you into the person you are today? What seemed like a loss at the time was actually a necessary transition. If those people had stayed, you wouldn't have discovered your strength. If that relationship had continued, you wouldn't have stepped into the next level of your purpose. God knows what He's doing. He is not careless with His plans. He does not remove people just to see you suffer. He removes them because they were never meant to go where He is taking you. He removes them because their presence was keeping you from fully embracing His calling on your life. Sometimes we hold on to people out of comfort, not realizing they are the very thing preventing us from walking into the next season. Look at Joseph in the Bible. His own brothers betrayed him, sold him into slavery, and left him for dead. But that painful separation was a setup. If they hadn't betrayed him, he never would have ended up in Egypt. If he hadn't been in Egypt, he never would have stepped into the position God had for him. What looked like rejection was actually divine redirection. The same is true for you. That separation was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of something greater. Trust that God is working, even in your losses. You may not understand now, but one day you will look back and realize why things had to happen the way they did. You will see that what you thought was a setback was actually a setup for your breakthrough. The pain you felt was not wasted. It was the foundation for something better. So, instead of mourning what was lost, prepare for what is coming. Instead of questioning why it happened, start expecting what God is about to do next. When He removes someone, it means He is positioning you for more. It means He is refining you, stretching you, and getting you ready for something that you cannot yet see. You don't have to fight what God is doing. You don't have to chase after what He has already removed. You don't have to cling to something that is no longer meant for you. If He took it away, trust that it was necessary. Trust that He is making space for what is next. Trust that the separation was never about breaking you. It was about building you for something greater. When God removes someone from your life, it is because He sees what you cannot see. He knows the path ahead, the dangers that lurk in places you are unaware of, and the weight that certain people place on your spirit. You may not understand it now, but one day you will. One day you will look back and see that God was protecting you, redirecting you, and making sure that nothing and no one could interfere with His purpose for your life. But in the moment it hurts. It feels like something is being taken from you, like a piece of your heart is being ripped away. The human tendency is to resist change, to hold on to what is familiar, to fight for relationships that no longer serve us. But we tell ourselves that if we just try harder, love deeper, or give more, things will work out. But when God has made the decision to remove someone, nothing you do will be able to keep them. And that is not a bad thing. It is not rejection. It is divine intervention. It is God stepping in to remove the distractions, the weights, the burdens that were never meant for you. It is His way of making room for something better, something aligned with your destiny. Too often we pray for elevation but resist separation. We ask God for growth but hold on to the things that keep us stagnant. We want new doors to open, yet we refuse to walk away from the ones He has clearly closed. You must trust the shift, trust the separation, trust that if God removed someone, it was necessary. You don't need to understand all the reasons right now. You just need to trust that He knows what He's doing. The people who leave were never meant to stay. If they were meant to be part of your future, they would still be here. If they truly belonged in your life, God would not have taken them away. And it's not always because they were bad people. Sometimes they were good people who simply weren't meant to go where you're going. Sometimes their purpose in your life was fulfilled, and keeping them any longer would only hinder your progress. Holding on to expired relationships does not make them last. It only makes the separation more painful. Think about how a butterfly must struggle to break free from its cocoon. If it refuses to let go of the safety and familiarity of that cocoon, it will never fly. It will never become what it was created to be. Some people in your life were like that cocoon. They helped you in a season. They provided comfort, but now their time is up. If you keep holding on, you will never step into the fullness of what God has for you. So instead of mourning the loss, start looking ahead. Instead of asking why it happened, start expecting what God is about to do next. When He removes someone, He is making space for something better. He is bringing the right people, the right opportunities, and the right relationships into your life. You may not see it immediately, but trust that something greater is on the horizon. God does not make mistakes. He does not take away without reason. If someone walked out of your life, let them go. If a friendship ended, trust that it was time. If a door closed, stop knocking. What is meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or fight to keep it. If it was truly from God, it would remain. If it left, it means God has something better in store. So lift your head, wipe your tears, release the pain, let go of what was, and step forward into what is coming. The same God who took them away is the same God who will restore, renew, and bring something far greater than what you lost. You may not understand now, but one day you will see that this was never about loss. It was about preparation for something greater. When God removes someone from your life, it is not to harm you, but to help you. It is not to punish you, but to position you. It is not to take something valuable from you, but to make room for something greater. Yet in the moment, it rarely feels that way. It feels like loss. It feels like heartbreak. It feels like rejection. And in that pain, it's easy to question God, to wonder why He allowed it, to struggle with understanding how something that feels so painful could possibly be part of His plan. But that's where trust comes in. That's where faith is tested. Can you trust that even when you don't understand, God is still working for your good? Can you believe that even when it hurts, He is still guiding you toward something better? Can you hold on to the promise that He knows what He's doing, even when it doesn't make sense to you? The truth is, some people were never meant to stay forever. They were meant to play a role in a specific season of your life, and once that season is over, their presence is no longer necessary. But because we are human, because we grow attached, because we struggle to let go, we try to hold on to what God is trying to remove. We try to force relationships that have already expired. We try to open doors that God has intentionally closed. And in doing so, we only prolong our own pain. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do, but it is also one of the most powerful acts of faith. It is a declaration that you trust God more than you trust your own emotions. It is an acknowledgement that His plans are greater than yours, even when you don't understand them. It is a decision to stop clinging to what was and start walking toward what is to come. Think about the times in your life when you thought you lost something important, only to later realize that it was never meant for you. Think about the people you once cried over, the relationships you once fought to keep, the friendships you once thought you couldn't live without, only to look back now and see that their absence made room for something greater. At the time, it felt like the end, but now you can see that it was actually the beginning of something new. God sees the bigger picture. He knows what is ahead. He knows the people who are meant to walk with you, and He knows the ones who will only hinder your journey. Some people were bringing toxicity into your life and you didn't even realize it. Some people were distracting you from your purpose and you weren't even aware. Some people were keeping you tied to old habits, old ways of thinking, old cycles that God was trying to break. So He removed them, not to hurt you, but to heal you, not to break you, but to build you, not to abandon you, but to realign you with His plan. When someone walks away, let them go. When a relationship ends, don't fight to keep it alive. When a door closes, stop knocking. If it was meant for you, it would still be there. If it was part of God's plan for your future, it would not have left. What is truly meant for you will never require you to beg, force, or chase after it. God does not take away without the intention to replace. He does not remove without the purpose to restore. If something was taken, it means something greater is coming. If someone left, it means their role in your life was complete. Instead of mourning what is gone, prepare for what is ahead. Instead of questioning why, trust in what God is about to do next. There is freedom in surrendering. There is peace in trusting that God knows what is best for you. And when you truly let go, when you release what was never meant to stay, you will find that God fills that empty space with something far greater than you ever imagined. You will look back and see that every removal, every ending, every moment of loss was actually a step towards something greater. So trust Him. Trust that He knows what He's doing. Trust that He is leading you somewhere better. And most importantly, trust that what He has in store for you will be worth every tear, every unanswered question, and every moment of pain. When God removes someone from your life, it is not just about them, it is about you. It is about your growth, your healing, your purpose. It is about the direction God is taking you and the things that cannot come with you on that journey. Sometimes we hold on to people because they feel familiar, because they have been part of our lives for so long, because we have built memories and attachments that make it hard to walk away. But God sees what we cannot. He knows when a relationship is no longer helping us grow, when it is keeping us from reaching our full potential, when it is doing more harm than good. It is not always easy to accept. When someone you love walks away, when a friendship fades, when a door closes, it feels personal. It feels like rejection, like loss, like something has been stolen from you. But you have to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing it as something being taken away, see it as something being cleared out. God is making space. He is removing what no longer fits so that He can bring in what does. He is closing doors that would have only led to pain so that He can guide you to doors that will lead to purpose. Trusting this process requires faith. It requires you to believe that even in the moments of pain, God is working on something better. It requires you to surrender the need to understand and simply trust that He knows what He is doing. Too often we waste time trying to hold on to what is already gone. We replay memories. We wonder if we could have done something different. We try to make sense of why things happened the way they did. But the truth is, if God allowed someone to leave, then it was for a reason. And you do not have to understand it to trust it. Some people are seasonal. They came into your life to teach you something, to help you in a specific moment, to be part of a chapter, not the whole book. When their time is up, you must be willing to turn the page. Holding on to the past will not bring it back. Clinging to relationships that God has removed will only cause unnecessary pain. You cannot move forward while looking backward. God's plan is always greater than our own. He sees what we do not. He knows what is ahead. He knows the people who are meant to be in your life for the long haul and the ones who were only meant to be there for a short time. And when He removes someone, it is never to harm you, it is to help you. You may not see it now, but one day you will look back and understand why things had to happen the way they did. And you will see that every loss was actually making room for a greater gain. Every ending was setting the stage for a new beginning. Letting go does not mean you did not care. It does not mean that the relationship did not matter. It simply means that you trust God more than you trust your own emotions. It means that you believe in His plan even when you do not understand it. It means that you are willing to surrender what was so that you can step into what is to come. And when you finally let go, when you stop resisting what God is trying to do, you will find peace. You will stop fighting battles that were never yours to fight. You will stop trying to hold on to people who were never meant to stay. You will release the weight of what was and step into the freedom of what is ahead. God never removes without the intention to replace. He never takes something away without the plan to restore. If someone has left your life, trust that something greater is on the way. If a door has closed, believe that another, better one is about to open. If you feel the pain of separation, know that healing is coming. So instead of looking back, look forward. Instead of mourning what was, expect what is coming. Instead of questioning why, trust the process. Because when God removes, He also restores. And what He brings will always be greater than what He took away.